Yo, yo, yo! Welcome back to the MMA Short Show. As always, your boy, Steven Moustaris. And man, when it comes to UFC 308 this weekend, I mean, clearly, if you guys have been watching my videos, I couldn't be any more biased towards Max Holloway and Robert Whittaker. Just off rip, I'm going to be real with you guys. If you guys have watched, Robert Whittaker and Max Holloway are two of my top 5 all-time favorite fighters. I mean, Max Holloway might even be number 1 all-time favorite. So, I mean, clearly, it's not every week as a fight fan that you get to see 2 of even your top 10 favorite fighters on the same card, let alone main event and co-main event, of the actual fight card. So I'm going to be a nervous wreck this weekend, don't get me wrong. But if I try to take myself out of it and take my emotions out of it and everything, I think as an MMA fan, I think what I'm most excited about and most intrigued to see how it plays out this weekend, by far Khamzat Chimaev and Robert Whittaker this weekend, man. And it's not even necessarily the fight. It's more so the implications for what's going to happen with this man Khamzat Chimaev currently. I mean, it's no secret. In 2020, this guy came in and fought, 3 times in 3 days, it felt like. He was just devouring people. I think he had a total fight time of, a minute in 3 straight fights, knocking everybody out, submitting them, jumping from division to division, 170, 185. It looked like he was going to become a double division champion, but active and defending in both divisions. And then ever since that, man, it just seems like COVID took the man out. And ever since COVID, it's been super weird. I mean, the man's fought, 1 time a year for the last 4 years, 3 years now. I mean, his last 2 fights have been kind of weird. His visa issues are terrible. You can't even fight anywhere anymore. I mean, there's only, 2 to 3 fight cards a year that he can even fight on. And then to add his injuries and all of his sickness and all these weird things that have been happening where he's backing out of fights, there's a lot on the line for this man. I think by far the most pressure on anybody in this fight card. And you can maybe argue Aaliyah Tapira. I wouldn't be mad at the argument of Aaliyah Tapira, or maybe even like Magomed Ankalaev for strictly just the chance to take out maybe the pound for pound GOAT right now and Alex Pereira. Clearly that's a huge fight. But when it comes to Aaliyah Tapira, the amount of trash he's been, talking and everything, I can understand it. But he's already kind of set out there and beat Volkanovski. He's already set out there and achieved the championship. So this man Khamzat just been a lot of talking and not really any action anymore. And it's at this, man, he could lose it all against Robert Whittaker. Because let's look back, man, these last couple fights, Gilbert Burns was giving him the work, and this man Kamaru Usman was giving him the work. And if we look at either of those fights, if they were 5-round fights, I mean, let's be honest here. I think both of them are getting the job done. Because this man Khamzat gets gassy early. This man is done after that second round. So what really intrigues me with this fight, at least from the fight standpoint, if Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns are out striking you and giving you problems in the grappling, and they're, in all honesty, great fighters and everything, but they're 170. They're not as big as this man Robert Whittaker, and definitely not as good at striking as Robert Whittaker. So if this man Robert Whittaker can stuff a couple and keep it standing, you mean to tell me that Khamzat Chimaev struggled with Kamaru and struggled with Gilbert Burns, and he's not going to struggle with this man Robert Whittaker? That's number 1 red flag. But here's the scariest part, like we mentioned with the visa stuff, man, the traveling issues. If this guy really wants to become a champion, and even like Shara Bullet, that's in the, the first fight of the main card tonight, or on Saturday, it's going to be weird with these guys who can only fight on the Middle Eastern cards. Like I said, 2 to 3 fight cards a year. How is this man truly going to become champion, And this is Khamzat's chance to take out really put a stamp down on somebody. Yeah, sure, he finished Kevin Holland quick, but that's not a champion. Every time he's fought, Kamaru Usman or somebody else like a Gilbert Burns who's fought for a belt, it's been close fights. It's been very interesting. So he almost needs that stamp of just hey, I'm here. I can take out Robert Whittaker, baby. And I can be champion material. Because if he doesn't take out Robert Whittaker, I mean, his chances at title fights, man, might be, I don't want to say out the window, but what's he going to do against Adrikas? What's he going to do against an Izzy? What's he going to do at 170 against some of them killers that can actually push the pace all night? And he's already winning. He's nonstop winning at this rate. He's still undefeated, and he's still taking this much time off. What happens if he takes a loss to Robert Whittaker, man? There's so many questions when it comes to Khamzat. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm expecting it, but I am going to sit here and tell you guys right now, I mean, don't be shocked if he turns into the next Zabit who out of nowhere, he was on top of the world, and out of nowhere, he just kind of loses the love for the game because Here's my other issue. If this isn't something on his end and it's more so the UFC holding him up, because every time you hear from Khamzat, he's always talking about how he wants this fight, he wants this fight, he wants to fight all the time. And if the UFC are kind of shelving him, I mean, if this is the case, then that could be another driving factor for Khamzat. Say he loses to Whittaker and it's like he looks at himself and he's sitting there crying about how, man, left and right, I got to sit here and wait for the UFC to let me fight once in 8 months, once in 9 months. So I wouldn't be shocked if he starts losing the love for it and everything. So, I mean, there's a lot on the line for this guy. And this could be the start to the end for this man, Khamzat. If they can't get his whole thing figured out with the visas and the traveling, I mean, are they even going to press that much to make him a champion? Like, how can you only have a champion that can fight, once a year? We've seen how that works. Nobody likes him. Nobody wants him to fight. And the way he talks, we're used to him fighting 3 times in a week. I just don't know, man. I feel like there's so much on the line for him that Robert Whittaker can come in and just steal the day. And clearly, as a biased fan, I'm going to be geeked. And Robert Whittaker goes out there and knocks him out and goes up there and maybe challenges for the belt again. Clearly, that's what I want to happen. But as an MMA fan and somebody who understands how big this man Khamzat Chimaev is for the UFC's plans and has been for the past and for the future of them, there's a lot riding on this fight that I don't think most people are really, really recognizing, man. Because some people look at this as just a fight with Robert Whittaker, the real first big test to see if he can become anything at 185. But, I mean, I'm telling you guys right now, look at the inactivity as of late. Imagine a loss sprinkled in there and then his ego or his confidence, just hit a little bit. Like, we've seen it before, man. That can change a fighter for the rest of their career. So I just think he's trending downwards currently when it comes to the activity. And, you have to stay in there. We hear it all the time, unless you're a Dominic Cruz. And even him, he even got, hit by it a little bit. The longer you stay out, man, the more ring rust there is, or octagon rust, or whatever you want to say. And yeah, sure, for some guys, the top guys, that isn't a thing. But for 99.99% of humans, man, if you don't do anything like for a couple months or a couple years compared to what other high-level people are doing that are seeing everything and still in the mix, you're going to be behind a step or two. It's just what it is. So I'm really, really excited to see what happens with Khamzat. Like, I'm not even mad. This is the one time, too, I got to admit, man, where I'm, as a huge fan of 2 guys, and Max Holloway and Robert Whittaker, it is kind of nice to sit back and look and be like, they don't have that much pressure on them. Robert Whittaker's already been a champion. Max Holloway's already been a champion. Robert Whittaker and Max Holloway already fan favorites. Max, luckily for him, he's got the BMF belt. So, I mean, he can always do something at 155. He just knocked out Gaethje. There's no way you can doubt the man. If Tapira takes him out, okay, he's a killer. He's just his time. If Max wins, it's huge. If Robert Whittaker loses, like I said, champion. He's been one. He lost to a killer in Khamzat. Like, okay, we've been here, baby. This is just maybe the start to the end, But there's still going to be so many fights for both of them. Even Ilia Tapira, I feel like since he's been the champion now and, we actually going to see him with the title defense, there's so many different fights out there. He's good at marketing himself. He's a great fighter. He's still young. So it's going to come down to Khamzat. And like I mentioned with the other guys, they can travel. They can go do whatever. They're very marketable. They can go fight anywhere. If you look at Max Holloway's last 5-6 fights, the dude has been fighting all over the globe, just beating everybody's ass. It's been truly amazing to witness. So you guys let me know what you think with Khamzat, but I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you right now, this is looking different if he loses, man, because clearly you win. You're arguing about getting it done. So as always, your boy Steven Moustaris. Let's go, baby.